Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Our 2 Cents on Your Dollars. I'm James Enriquez.
I'm James Credo.
I'm Leo Chang.
And I'm Alexis Villarreal.
And today you are in for a treat, I hope. We are playing a nice little game of fact or fiction financial advice. So, fact or fiction, I should pay off my mortgage ASAP.
It depends.
There's that dreaded. Well, what does it depend on, sir?
Yeah.
Various factors, right? What is it? I guess cash flow. What's the interest rate? So, I think I think some of us were able to look at some different options during COVID where rates drop down. If you have a rate that is significantly lower than the current rate, that you start asking yourself, should you be putting your money towards a low interest debt, or should you be trying to put it into something that can earn a higher yield, right? And so if you have those components right, you should not be paying lower debt. You should not be paying off your mortgage quickly. If you're towards the back end of your mortgage where you have already paid a significant amount of the interest and mainly your payments are almost all principal, you should also probably not pay off your mortgage because you've already paid the interest. There isn't any sort of significant benefit other than the cash flow aspect of it. I think that's something that a lot of clients fail to look at. They should look at their mortgage statements and see how much of it is actually being paid towards interest or principal. So I think there's some factors that get wage on that.
So fiction?
Yeah, we'll go with fiction.
Fiction.
Okay.
There's very few. There's. If we looked at most mortgages, I doubt we'll run into any that have an interest rate where we're just like, pay that off now. They're not out there.
Really?
Yeah.
So 6.75, what are you doing? What are you saying?
No. Pay that off. Pay it all off immediately.
As soon as possible. I think the term I used was ASAP.
I think you look at cash
an
flow though,
acronym.
right? I think it goes back to cash flow. If you're looking at the situation, if that is something that they want to do, there's a bunch of different ways that individuals can pay that off. Make extra payments. Some people will make, instead of it being monthly payments, they'll make bi-weekly payments. So you get an extra payment in there. I've heard realtors make the comment of making just a third payment, make 13 payments a year. So make one extra payment just straight towards principal. Those are all little factors that can reduce the life of the loan.
All right. Okay. Next one. Fact or fiction, I shouldn't put all my eggs in one basket.
Fiction.
Oh. Tell us why.
I know. I was like, did I word that? Wait. That's fiction. Explain, sir. Wait, hold on. You know what we should do? We should, because I have a feeling other people might. Do y'all agree? Is that a fiction?
I think it can be a fiction, right?
The idea behind this is that these concepts, whether there's an alternative use for it or not, that it's just blanketed, and that's not the case. So in this circumstance, right? You pose the question, I shouldn't put all my eggs in one basket. Fiction. There are circumstances where you should put all your eggs in one basket.
Really?
Yeah.
What scenarios are those?
Well, the one basket you should have put into the last 10 years is growth stocks. That's one scenario for sure.
Wait, growth stocks?
Yep.
So then
Growth
your eggs
equities.
aren't in one basket.
It depends on what the basket is.
Wait, what do you mean?
The
How
basket
many's in
is
this
growth.
basket?
No.
Is it a basket of one?
The basket
He
basket
added an
is
S just
growth
immediately there.
equities. The basket's growth equity. Like that's what I'm saying. It's not one individual thing, right? In this circumstance, it's one specific asset class. But I think the way people interpret it, putting their eggs in one basket is, I can't invest in this one fund, right? And that's not necessarily the case. That fund is diversified, right? In the sense that you're invested in multiple different things. But based on that asset class, it is invested in one specific asset class. And for a long time, one specific asset class has done really, really well.
I say fiction on the sense of that eggs in one basket. Sometimes people think that having all their money with one advisor is having all their eggs in one basket. So in that aspect, I'd say fiction, because as an advisor, it makes it very difficult for you to guide somebody when you don't have all the pieces in play here, or you don't know about all the pieces in play. So it's okay if you have multiple advisors as long as you let them know what positions are being held here, so you're not overlapping, right? So all the eggs in one basket in a advisor standpoint, it's fiction, right? I think it's best if it is all in one place as with one advisor.
Yeah, let the record reflect. We're officially off the rails, and it only took 5 minutes.
I guess the question.
You know, we started when we started talking about this episode. We started talking about like rules of thumb. Yeah. By the way, I say that jokingly because I actually that was going to be my follow-up fact or fiction about what you just said. So
beat you to the punch.
Might as well go with this off the rails. Okay, so let's see. Fact or fiction? If I give more than 19,000 in a year, I owe gift tax.
Fiction.
Oh,
Say more.
All that ends up doing is potentially reduce your lifetime benefit.
Okay. All right.
Next.
Fact or fiction? I should subtract my age from 100 to determine how much I should have in stocks.
Love this one.
Why do you love this one, Lee?
Because it's easy math.
It's just so funny.
I like it though, man.
I like it. I just don't like the way it's worded in this fact or fiction. So here's the rule of thumb. Take 100, subtract your age, and that'll tell you how much you should have in stocks. So if you're 40 years old, 100 minus 40, 60. So I should have 60% in stocks.
Fiction.
You could go in so many directions with this one.
Well, let's hear it. Go in all the directions.
You could go in the direction that you're going to be leaving money on the table because as you're reducing risk, you're lowering your returns. You can go in the direction of, are you still able to reach your goals by automatically reducing your allocation to equities? So those are the two that come to mind right away.
Yeah, it's not like it's not a good rule of thumb because it varies.
Such a blanket statement. It doesn't
significantly.
pertain to all individuals.
No, not at all. So
Each
I think it's a
individual's gonna have
hard
different
fiction.
circumstances.
I think it's a hard fiction.
But I'm glad you brought it up though, because back in my day, a lot of financial books would mention that. I kind of forgot about that one. So that's interesting. But yeah, it sounds so good, but it's so cookie cutter, you know. Leo doesn't like.
It's because I literally have like I can't think of a 4-year-old that their allocation is 60% equities and 40% fixed income. I mean, unless there's a very specific time horizon that they have the asset for, and it's in the next, maybe 10 years ish, like short time frame. But just to say blanketly, that's what you should be invested in. Fiction.
Okay. All right.
Give me a fact. I want a fact.
I've been trying. I did, and you called it a fiction. That was supposed to be a slam dunk. You shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. That's a fact. Anyway.
It's just the way you worded it.
Yeah, it was worded funny. I agree.
It was probably...
But he still thinks it's fiction. He thinks you should put all your eggs in one basket.
But he added an S into his statement, so it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nah, next.
Next. I should save 15. I think there's two different rules of thumb. There's 50, 30, 20, and then there's a 15% rule. So we'll just go with 15%. I should save 15% towards my retirement.
Cool.
All right, so we'll move on. Or?
No.
Okay, so fact or fiction?
This is probably a fiction.
Okay.
It depends. Yeah.
On what? What does it depend?
Okay, you save 15%. Is that enough for you to retire?
I don't know. You're the advisor. You tell me. Is that enough to retire?
Everyone's income is different. Their expenses are different. You need a deeper dive. So I would say fiction.
So what should I look for in this deeper dive?
Cash flow, and the lifestyle you want for retirement. That's what you should look at.
How about where you're at, your starting point? How many years do you have until?
That sounds way too smart.
How old are you?
I was just wondering how many questions I had to ask to get there.
Well, keep going.
15% might not be enough, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. That's what we're looking for.
Oh, okay. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, it may not, just depending on the situation. But
Why don't you just say so?
yeah, just come out and say it, bro. Come on.
Yeah. I get how this works now. Next.
This is your first time here, yes?
30 episodes later, we figured it out. Okay. Fact or fiction, I should always contribute to my company plan, my company retirement plan, my 401k.
Fiction, because some plans offer different things. Some plans may offer a match. Some plans do not offer a match. But if there is a matching component, then it's 100% you should be doing that if you can afford it, right? If it actually works in your cash flow, if you don't have some sort of other debts that money should be going towards. So it's almost always a yes if they can do it. If they have some sort of circumstances that, debts or liabilities outside that they just don't have those extra funds, then they need to tackle those first. But if they have the capability of it, I always use that's free money. Right? If your company is going to match you 4%, and if you put in 4% or 6%, put in that, because there's nothing else out there that I know you get free money from.
Yeah. You want to look at investment options too and fees. I think it was actually y'all that had a case, because usually most employer plan you would expect that the internal fees structure is lower, cheaper, but I think y'all actually had a case that surprisingly was higher. So yeah.
Or what about like 403b annuities, like for a young person?
Yeah. I sold some of those back in the day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I would say that'd be another scenario where like, you might be better off doing something else.
Yeah, especially all those were in the K through 12 market with no employer contributions. So it was just all them.
Yeah.
So
never one size fits all. Maybe it does make sense for some people, but
Yep.
Okay. You want a fact?
Yeah, give me one.
We'll see.
Fact or fiction, I should have 3 to 6 months of living expenses as an emergency fund.
Yeah, I like that one.
So you'd say fact?
Yeah, I'd say fact. I like that. That one's a really good one. Yeah, I mean, you just don't know, and if for whatever reason your working cycle gets interrupted, health reasons, whatever the case may be, the peace of mind knowing that your necessary spending can be taken care of based on that dollar amount that you've tucked away for that length of time. Typically, from what I've seen this actually come to fruition, that time frame doesn't last that long, but I think it's such a good peace of mind for clients to have that cash available, liquid, so that if there is an emergency where they aren't able to work, they're not receiving, maybe they don't have disability insurance as well too, or they need to supplement some of the disability income insurance, that can help take care of those necessary expenses that they have during that time frame.
Fact or fiction, I need to buy a vehicle for a tax deduction.
I think it goes back to it depends. Do you need the vehicle for work purposes? If you don't need the vehicle for work purposes, right, I think that there are other opportunities to potentially get some tax deductions. So, right, it goes back to it depends. But I think it's very common that most people, that's kind of like a go-to last second Hail Mary type of shot, right, before the end of the year. So for that individual, I'd say talk to your tax professional throughout the year, not just at the end.
Yeah, don't spend just to get a deduction. Is that one of our sayings? We have so many. Yeah. And it's a significant spending expense too. So
I'm just glad that CPAs don't say things like that in front of my wife, right? Because then she's going to say, well, we need a new vehicle every 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Fact or fiction, investing is gambling.
Fiction.
How so?
Man, this is one of my favorites.
Why is it?
You have a favorite?
Well, so best casino odds historically reported with Vegas come from, I believe, Baccarat, Pai Gow, some of my favorites, some of Credo's favorites as well too.
And our production team's favorite as well.
No W9s here.
The House Edge is as narrow as it gets. It's just under 50% for the house. So it's literally a coin flip. So you're gonna win half the time, you're gonna lose half the time. Investing, especially equity investing, it is not 50-50. You're going to have way more positive years than you're going to have negative years. So, I mean, historically speaking, S&P has averaged a rate of return of 9.5% over time. So you're not flipping a coin every year, whether you're going to lose money or earn money. So when it comes to that specifically, it's fiction.
I think it could be gambling though, right? At the same time, right? There are individuals that do take on excessive risk, right? Without fully comprehending what they're actually investing into, right? So I think if there are individuals that are looking to make it a gambling component, they could. But I think this is where, you know, we come in as advisors to kind of help explain to people that there is a process that you can utilize to have a very high rate of success that makes it to where it is not gambling, that your odds of success are going to be way much higher than a coin toss. And so I think it goes back to, right, going to the person, what can you afford to lose? Then that's the only portion that you should actually be taking on excessive risk, right? And I don't want to say gambling because I think it's just excessive risk, because in gambling, it's a win or lose. In this situation, right, if you happen to lose, there could be at least a tax benefit behind it. So it's not a complete loss, I guess, in some regards.
It's funny. It's funny to hear someone say, like, they look at their investments and they made money. They're like, I win. Like you just positive rate of return, like not winning. Two different things.
It might be a translation thing. We'll talk about that off
Off camera.
All right. Fact or fiction? I should try to replace 70 to 80% of my pre-retirement income in retirement. Like when I'm setting my goals, like you mentioned earlier, like what are my expenses going to look like? What is retirement going to look like? I should look at my current income and I should say I plan to spend 70 to 80% of that pre-retirement income. That's a rule of thumb. That's where that's coming from.
Yep.
So is that fact or fiction?
Fiction. There are additional expenses in retirement that will come up, specifically medical expenses that tend to be much greater during your retirement years and your elder years than they are during your working years. Those additional costs could and probably will offset some of the costs that you will no longer have when you're working. So our process to determine living in retirement expenses is more elaborate. We will, going through cash flow, determining what your expenses are, if there are continued liabilities through retirement, things like that, and then projecting what estimated medical expenses are, which are difficult to do in some circumstances. So I'm for me and most clients, they want to have the same income, 100% of what they were getting while they were working.
They do?
Yeah. If they can, if we plan it appropriately.
You mean same income or cover the same expenses?
Cover the same expenses for the with the current income that they have coming in and their lifestyle and the same expenses that they currently have. They want to continue to do the same thing in retirement. So if they can do that and they can plan for that, then why not? And then also take into account additional expenses that they don't have right now.
Okay, yeah, I just want to be clear. So you're saying they want to maintain the same expenses, not
Yeah.
okay. Because I was going to tell a quick story. Here's where my disdain of rules of thumb came from, okay? This is early in my career. I was visiting with somebody and was doing the great financial advisor thing. Hey, let's talk about your dreams and goals. When do you want to retire? I want to retire at this age. Okay, great. What is retirement going to look like for you? Like how much are you going to need in retirement? I don't know, James. You're the advisor. You tell me. How much do I need? 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income. James, I make $300,000. So you're telling me I'm going to need $240,000 when I'm 90 years old? Yes, that's what the book says. That's what the literature says.
Please put more money in.
Yeah,
It's right here.
right. And that's exactly where he went with it. You just want me to put more money in this account. No, the literature says that. So that's where my
It's in the
disdain,
book.
right in the book, right. So that's where my disdain of rules of thumb came from.
Yep.
Hence,
this podcast was born.
Well, I find it also interesting too, right? How blanket that is, right? Because I think when most people actually get to that stage where they're actually taking the income out, it doesn't look a straight line as far as what their life looks like, right? It kind of, they retire, right? They do things, they're traveling, they're moving around, and then health starts to kick in, and they're not moving around as much, and then health really kicks in, and they're not moving at all, and so you can see where expenses go this way, come back down, and then kind of spike towards the back end. And so just to kind of say it's a straight line all the way across isn't really realistic. That's not how life goes.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Since we're talking about retirement, fact or fiction, I can only spend 4% of my portfolio. The good old 4% rule. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Okay.
I mean, a simple case, you can have someone that's not even taking money from their portfolio, let's say. I mean, they can literally take out a big chunk 1 year, even 10 to 20%, and they'll still be fine. Or based on life expectancies, if they're 5 years away, they can take out a bigger chunk and they still won't run out of money. So,
or sometimes, right, that 4% even, it's not enough. It's not enough. They have to take out more because it just doesn't cover their lifestyle. Or the opposite end is where that 4%, they don't, like you said, they don't even need to take the 4%. So they just kind of just let it sit there longer and figure out what they need to do. So I think it's more, again, just a blanket rule that doesn't apply to everybody.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
what else?
Shoot them down.
See, man. All right. So speaking of life expectancy,
Everyone dies in our system at 95.
all right. Everyone needs life insurance.
Well, I think the answer to that is no, right? I always find it interesting.
This is not a yes or no.
This is not a yes or no, sir.
Fiction.
Okay.
Hard fiction.
All right.
I have no compelling arguments. I just say fiction. No.
Cool. Moving on.
Just listen to me. I'm a professional.
Trust it. Just trust it.
Like I said, one of our other podcasts, there was a conversation about life insurance, and I find it interesting when you have an individual that has made no commitments in life, right? And they have permanent whole life policies. They're single, they're young, just starting their career, and they've bought this life insurance policy that they're going to make a commitment to for the rest of their life. They're going to pay into it, and they haven't even chosen, a partner to make that commitment to, but they made it to this life insurance policy. And so I think that it's a hard no.
I wouldn't have gone with that supporting example, because now I'm curious. I wonder if this came up in the last podcast you just referenced. You'll have to tune in to find out. What do you think about that? Okay, so I might not have any commitments now, but I do plan on building a family, getting married, having kids. I'm young now. I'm healthy. I can get that permanent policy really cheap. So I'm just going to get it really cheap right now.
My question to be is, what are you really trying to do, right? Are you trying
Get
to
cheap insurance?
Yeah.
insurance? Okay, so there's a couple different ways of going about that, I guess, right? So I don't want to get to a long debate on fact or fiction, but we can. It's really just one of those.
Not for me. It's for them.
It's again, I think that
No one's listening. This is for us.
right. I think there's better vehicles to have coverage at such a low rate, right? If that's what you're trying to do, and rather you put your money towards other vehicles. That would be my suggestion.
All right, moving on then. Fact or fiction? Speaking of life expectancy, I should wait till 70 to file for Social Security.
Fiction. There could be many circumstances where you're retired or you can't work and you need income and you're eligible to take Social Security. You should probably start taking your Social Security.
That's it? Just that one scenario?
Well, you got to
Come on, give
consider
us some more scenarios.
health issues too.
Okay.
Family history and health issues. I've seen that situation where, you tell them it might be best to take it early because of that. It's a real concern. So,
I think it depends too on just income levels from both individuals, husband and wife, right? In some scenarios, you want them to delay because that will help protect the lower income earning spouse. And so, if they can wait till 70 and it makes sense, right? I do recommend that if it, if all other things are in place, good health, but not a need for the cash, right? So I think there's just a lot of varying factors in there.
The one I hear for Social Security is take your Social Security as soon as possible.
All the
Is that
time.
fact or fiction?
Should I take my social?
I'm asking you.
I was posing it.
No, I beat you to the punch.
Fiction.
Yeah, I mean it's fiction. It's in some circumstances, as we discussed, depending on what your income need is at 62. If you need the income, then absolutely take the income. But in a lot of circumstances, it makes sense to wait till full retirement age. For survivor benefit reasons, for spousal benefit reasons, for income reasons as well too. So you're limited on the amount of income that you can generate if you're taking Social Security prior to FRA. And then if you have a longer life expectancy and you're healthier, you're going to earn, or you're going to receive a significantly greater amount by delaying your Social Security till at least full retirement age.
I should pay all my expenses with a credit card so I can get the points. Fact or fiction?
Did we look at the math on this one the other day?
For me, that's a fact. Just because I like the I like the idea of using something else other than my debit card, just in case of identity theft, or in case of in case of fraud happens. Right, my credit card company has been amazing about any time that's ever happened to return anything that's ever been fraudulent. And in the past, I've had it happen only once where I had a debit card get compromised. It took a little bit longer to get the money back. And so from that standpoint, I love using a credit card. I think it makes it, I like the point things too. Obviously we have these conversations in the office. I think there's a lot of factual reasons why you'd want to do that.
You have to, two things. You have to be disciplined with your credit card, obviously, because those carry some of the highest recurring interest rates. Secondly, there are some expenses that won't allow you to utilize credit card to pay those expenses as well too. So then you obviously have to utilize some type of debit format to be able to pay for that. But yeah, I think credit cards are fantastic, but at the end of the day, the discipline of staying on top of it, not carrying debt over long periods of time, understanding how your benefits work for those credit cards, they're great. You got to be disciplined with them for sure.
All debt is bad. Fact or fiction?
Fiction. Hard fiction. Especially when you're using terms like all. That's how I always got those test questions right. Anytime you saw that.
Fine. Fact or fiction? Debt is bad.
Debt is bad.
Fiction.
Debt is bad. Fiction.
Oh, so it didn't change the outcome. Okay, cool.
Still same
Thanks for calling
thing.
it out.
Fiction. Yeah, no, I mean, it's some of the best investors over time leverage, and they do a really good job of leveraging. We see it in our industry. You see it in real estate. You see it in VC. You see it in other formats constantly, right? If I can use somebody else's money to earn money, and do so where there is a spread, there's some margin on my return, then you want to do that. Cash flow is really important, especially in business, and investing in any circumstance. So, understanding that high debt or a high interest debt is bad. If you're not managing it appropriately, yes. Below interest debt, if you're leveraging it and utilizing it in circumstances, especially where you can get some spread and margin on it, then it can be a really valuable tool. Really valuable tool.
Yeah, I like my 2% mortgage note. I don't want it to go away.
Yeah. That's right around the corner. You can always get another one.
Yeah, you did a good job covering a good basis of it. Way to go, buddy.
Wow, thank you.
You're
wow.
welcome.
We hope you enjoyed that rousing game of fact or fiction financial advice version. Again, we appreciate you tuning in. That was our 2 cents on your dollars.